Comes across the swing by Jacobson. Hit the antenna. And North Dakota are the 2016 Big Sky Conference Tournament volleyball champions.
Not a chance. You have to stop the run if you want to stop the Bulldogs.
The number 7 seed, North Dakota, out of the Big Sky, 9 straight wins to close the season.
As you can tell, North Dakota far from ready to close the book on the fall sports calendar just yet. Hello and welcome to another edition of UND Sports Extra. I'm Alex Heinert. This past week, the postseason was all the rage here in Grand Forks, beginning with the historic run through the Big Sky tournaments for UND volleyball. After winning the regular season title with a 14-2 conference mark, including 8 straight wins to close out the season, Mark Pryor's team took full advantage of playing at home in the conference tournament, brushing aside Idaho, Idaho State, and defending champ Northern Arizona without dropping a set to earn their first trip to the NCAA tournament in program history.
This is amazing. This is the most surreal feeling I've ever experienced. To have our home crowd here with us, that's all we could ever want. This is just the most amazing feeling to win in the Betty with all of these people.
We've dreamed about this since we got here, and I don't know, it's just our dream, like, to play college volleyball. And then once you get here, you know what you can accomplish, and it's pretty cool to accomplish it.
It feels unreal right now, honestly. We've been working so hard since we had our midnight practice so long ago. I mean, a lot of us were doubting that practice, but it's paid off, so just so excited.
Faith Dooley was named the tournament's most valuable player, while Tamara Mercelli, Chelsea Mosier, and Sydney Griffin were also named to the all-tournament team. UND will find out their postseason destination on Sunday, November 27th at 8 p.m., with first-round games taking place on December the 1st. Speaking of, just 13 hours after North Dakota volleyball's celebration, UND football gathered to find out their postseason fate on Sunday morning during the FCS selection show. And unlike last year, the wait to hear their name called was short-lived. After going 9-2 and claiming a share of the Big Sky Championship, the Fighting Hawks earned the number 7 seed overall in the 2014 field, giving them a coveted first-round bye and an all-important second-round home game at the Alaris Center.
It's a great feeling. Our goal this year was to win the Big Sky and leave no doubt about making playoffs and whatnot, and we came out and did that. And it's just a great feeling to get top 8 seed and get another bye week, and it's huge for us. We're a little beat up right now. We got guys injured still, and coming off this previous bye week and getting another one that can only help us.
We're excited. We're excited we got this opportunity. We've been working hard all year for it, and I'm glad that we're where we're seated, and I'm happy for what we've done this year.
Obviously, having the bye is a pretty big deal. We'll get some guys back that have been banged up. But no, we're excited, and we're chomping at the bit to get that first playoff game.
UND's second-round game will take place on December 3rd at 5 p.m. against the winner of North Carolina A&T and Richmond. With game day now 2 weeks away, Bubba Schweigert has ample time to game plan and his team plenty of time to heal. We'll talk with the head coach about managing the extra week of rest when we come back.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance and the University of North Dakota.
Welcome back. Well, joining us now, the head coach of UND football, Bubba Schweigert, fresh off a off week, or an open week as you like to call it, and off a very successful weekend with the FCS selection show. Congratulations on earning a spot in the playoffs and a first-round bye as well, Coach.
Well, thanks, Alex. We're really excited about the first-round bye. If we approach it the right way, it can be a huge advantage for us. And right now, our focus is how do we prepare our team for that first round and with an opportunity to move on in the tournament.
Yeah, thinking back to last year on Selection Sunday, we felt you had done enough to earn a spot into the field of 24. The committee didn't think so. Did that disappointment from last year make this year just a little bit sweeter on Selection Sunday?
Well, I think so. You take a look back and, it's something we'll never forget. A year ago, the disappointment, and, we felt we had done enough. But, that's history, and it's a hard job for the committee. It really is a difficult job, and I think as you go through the time, that you understand that say somebody's going to be in our position. There were teams this year that felt they should have been in and were not selected. So a hard job for the committee. But this year, just so different, knowing you're going to be in. Yeah. And then some anxious moments, though, to see where you're seated and and what kind of opportunity you get and who's going to be coming to the Alaris Center.
Yeah, you get the opportunity to now host the game, as you said. You see that game through, you get a 7 seed, you get the first round bye. Certainly the open date now coming forward is huge, but you've won 7 straight at home. You can't overestimate how big that is to know you will be hosting that second round game.
Well, we have done a good job at home, and our crowd really helps us. We know that's an advantage, and our team, seems to really rally behind that. And the one thing you got to be careful, it doesn't happen automatic. You still got to make plays to get the crowd into the game. And our focus will really be on the preparation. But obviously, we're excited to be at home, and we sure hope we can get a huge crowd out there and fill the Alaris Center for this first ever Division I playoff game on our campus.
How big now does the extra week of rest become? You've had some guys that have been playing with some nagging injuries, some guys that have had to sit out the last couple of weeks. How big now to give them an extra week to heal up and get ready for that second round contest?
Well, you have an opportunity. Luke Stanley hasn't played for a while, and this gives him another week to get back into shape and get in condition, so we may get him back. Our offensive line really was banged up. We have 3 guys that didn't really do a whole lot physically a week ago other than conditioning and lifting. That's Michael Coe and AJ Stockwell and Damon Taylor were injured. He was injured in our last game, and then obviously it helps Keaton, who gutted one out in our last game. It gives him an extra week, so we think it can be a real benefit to us, but it always goes back to only if we make it a benefit and treat it the right way this week.
Some have argued that this extra week of rest now on top of the bye at the end of the season, that's too much time in between games. I think a lot of people maybe have overblown that a little bit, but what are some ways now to keep the team sharp with 11 days to go before that second round contest?
Well, I think that's the one thing you got to do is stress your team in conditioning, because those games are stressful and they help you keep in football shape, and we got to do a good job, and our strength and conditioning staff will do a good job, and we're on top of that and really monitoring that. And then when we practice, do you practice at a high tempo and really focus on fundamentals and ball security? And because if you get in this relaxed mode, that would be the wrong approach. We've got to be on edge and really be practicing at a high level and championship level. And we talk about that, how we go about our day-to-day business is going to be really important throughout this week and throughout our week of game prep.
Coming up on December 3rd, now you'll host the winner of North Carolina A&T and Richmond, a couple of teams from out of the region and teams maybe people around here don't know a whole lot about. How much now, not knowing that opponent, will your staff do preparing for both of them in this coming week?
Well, as much as we can. We obviously started on Sunday looking at rosters and personnel. We don't know a whole lot about these teams. We know that they're very good football teams. Everybody in the tournament is a very good football team and deserving of being in the tournament. So very talented, got a chance to watch the Richmond and William and Mary game, and we know they're really good and explosive on offense, and just had an unfortunate injury that probably changed the game a bit. But we also knew William and Mary has a very proud tradition, and it's a rivalry game, so anything can happen in that. North Carolina A&T, just reading up, their coach has done a remarkable job of turning that program around, and it's no longer just a football team. It's a very good, solid football program.
Last thing for you, how good does it feel to know you're playing football after Thanksgiving?
Well, it's huge for us. We talk about playing good football in November, and now we're talking about playing football in December. And this is the vision for our program, to win the Big Sky and be in the national tournament. And we've always said, we have the support here. We have an opportunity to do this at this program, but you've got to work hard to make it happen.
Well, congrats again, Coach, on the first playoff berth for UND in this Division I era. Good luck getting ready for round number 2 of the playoffs.
Thank you very much.
Bubba Schweigert. Again, Bubba's team, not the only group at UND with postseason aspirations. We'll talk with Mark Pryor and the NCAA tournament-bound UND volleyball program when we come back. Here in studio now, the man steering the ship towards an NCAA tournament for UND volleyball, Mr. Mark Pryor. Mark, congratulations on an incredible run this past week. Well done.
Thank you. It's been a fun week.
It got started really before the tournament even got going. You heard on Wednesday, prior to the Big Sky tournament, that you had 4 players named to the first team all-conference, including the league MVP in Sydney Griffin, the newcomer of the year in Tamara Mercelli, and then Chelsea Mosier and Faith Dooley both getting on that first team. I know this team is more than just that quartet, but talk about what those 4 have meant for this program.
It's the first time that the Big Sky's had 4 kids from the same team on the first team. So for me, it just shows that we're doing the right things. We're we're getting the right kids in here. They're buying into what we're doing, and the league is recognizing, wow, they can all play. And that, to me, is really important.
Mark was also, you were named the Big Sky Coach of the Year. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, I think the Big Sky got the check in the mail like 2 days before, so that helped out a little.
Moving on now to the tournament, once all the hardware was collected and the check cleared. This has been a tough format for you guys in the last couple of seasons. Just one win in 4 previous years in the Big Sky tournament. Certainly not the case this year. But knowing that, the girls had struggled in that mode, was there any conversation leading into this, hey, to wash that history away and just focus on this
what
week?
we did actually was they've heard from me all year. Before our first game, Brew came and talked to the team. And what he talked about was enjoying the environment. And we knew it was going to be a little bit of an emotional letdown in that first match against Idaho because we had such an emotional high and it was emotionally draining the week before at Northern Arizona, Northern Colorado. We had Brew come and talk to him. He was the perfect guy to talk to him at that point, got him really pumped up to get us past that first one. I think once that happened, Bubba talked to us the second night, and then Brian Jones talked to us championship night. So it was great. All 3 of them talked about the same things. And they didn't talk to each other. So it was really neat to see that as coaches, we all kind of focus on the same things when you get in that environment, and the kids are really appreciative of it.
Yeah, cool to see. This whole athletics department really buying in, certainly, to this program. And it started, they're back on Thursday night. You play in this Idaho team. You come out, as you mentioned, coming off some emotional games the week before.
Yeah.
You get the 3-0 sweep, but, maybe a good performance, not great, is what you would say after.
Right. It was good. It was good that we got done quickly. I think some of the kids, they weren't really looking ahead, but you could see there wasn't that fire. I think they were like, let's get this done and let's get ready for the next one.
The next one was against Idaho State, a team that the last team to beat you this season, and you never obviously are going to play down for a semifinal, but there was no chance of a letdown against the Bengals in this one.
It was kind of an out-of-body experience for us. When we looked at the stats and that we set a Big Sky Conference record for hitting, we had 5 hitting errors in that match, and even Rick at Idaho State after the match, he goes, we tried everything, and I was like, we just got hot at the right time.
That sweep set you up with a great title game against the defending champs in Northern Arizona. You said a lot, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and you got the opportunity, and you made the most of it.
Well, it was one of those things that I was really nervous about that match, and I was nervous for the kids because they'd put so much into it. I saw in the paper that Marilyn Haggerty had named me Joyful Person of the Week, so I was like, that's it, we're winning, it's done. No questions asked. And we got out there, and once the crowd really got going, our kids looked around, and they kind of knew. And from the first swing, Chelsea puts a ball down, and it was just so emphatic that I'm like, okay, this is going to be a good night for us.
Yeah, it was. It was exciting, high-stakes volleyball. You kind of ground out that first set and then really carried the day in sets 2 and 3. When the last point drops, what's going through your minds?
I just really wanted to get over and shake Ken's hand as quickly as I could and then turn around, and I just wanted to see the look on our kids' faces because they've earned it. Everything that they've set out to do this year, they've accomplished. And it's just, as a coach, you're kind of a surrogate parent, and seeing your kids have that joy, it goes a long way. It makes it worth it.
Yeah, it was a really special moment, certainly there on the court. And to share it with that group of fans, 1,500 fans in the Betty, felt like a lot more than that.
Yes.
They've really been behind this team all season.
Well, they've been our 12th man, there's no doubt. And people recognize when they come, everybody wants to play in the Betty. They don't want to deal with that fan base, but they enjoy the environment. And so we're just excited we've got the best environment in the Big Sky, hands down.
Yeah. You've now won 11 straight matches, going all the way back to October. You're playing incredible volleyball. You've only dropped 3 sets over that period. You swept through the entire tournament. What is the biggest reason why this team is clicking right now in all cylinders?
I think that what we've got is we've finally got this group that really understands balance. Just do your job and trust your teammates. I think we've got good trust. And I think the biggest thing is, at this point in the season, we've got kids that are being great teammates to each other and understanding, keeping the little things little, focusing on the big things. It makes it a lot more enjoyable, and that's any corporate culture. When you've got everyone that's like-minded, it makes things a lot easier to kind of focus on the big picture.
Yeah, the fun thing is the big picture not done yet. You find out your fate in the NCAA tournament this weekend, Coach. Congratulations on getting there. Now, best of luck moving forward in the big dance.
Thank you so much.
Mark
Appreciate
Pryor,
it.
you betcha. Coming back a little more with UND women's hockey when UND Sports Extra returns. It was another rivalry weekend for UND women's hockey, and here to talk about it, the head coach, Brian Idalski. And Brian, your team entered this past weekend against Minnesota, coming off a tough series against the number 3 team in the nation in Duluth. You got a shootout win in that competition against the Bulldogs. How did you feel your team was playing coming into this big series against the Gophers?
Well, I really felt like we continue to grow in every week, and that the team is making strides and improving in areas that we're working on. And so we're happy with their development, especially our younger players. And you know, this is a good group. I've said it before, I'll say it again. This is a very interesting to see how far this group can take it this year.
Yeah, taking on Minnesota, coming in, the Gophers number 2 in the country. We're riding an 8-game winning streak, but your team always seems to rise up against the best in the nation. That was the case again this weekend.
Yeah, for whatever reason, our kids really enjoy competing against Minnesota and play really hard. I know the community in town and really thinks that rivalry is a big rivalry, especially with the carryover from the men's team. So our kids were definitely up to play and compete at that level.
Yeah, right off the bat on Friday night, 2 early goals in that first period. Grayson Hershey gets one, Vamatonskinen gets one. You're up 2-0, a really great start right off the bat.
Yeah, we wanted to play with the lead. Our team's been very good when we play with the lead this year. So we definitely came out with some good energy and got a couple bounces, and we're able to carry that through first and second period.
Yeah, Gophers would come back and score 2 over those next 2 periods, but able to keep them at bay and force overtime and eventually force the shootout. They would get the victory in the overtime or in the shootout period, but still a good effort. This is a team that hadn't lost many games, only 1 loss all season. To push them like that and to earn at least a point off them, you had to feel decent about the effort you displayed on Friday night in Game 1.
Oh, I did. When we talk about having 8 freshmen in the lineup who are contributing, playing regular shifts, and you're going to take that. There's going to be some growing pains to give up 2 1-goal leads back to back in the third period. Not ideal, but you have to be really encouraged. The fact that we shut down a high-powered offense like theirs limited them to 2. Yeah. But also that, we're going to learn from that. Those kids have a lot of room to grow and understand the game, and I don't think come February that's going to happen to us.
Yeah, you mentioned on Saturday they're giving up the 2-1 lead, and it was basically the exact same game that we saw on Friday night, just rolled over a day.
I had, they asked, what do you need to do the second night? And I said, carbon copy of what we just did. And I should have wished for something a little better than that, because I got exactly a carbon copy of the night before.
Emma Newton and Hallie Theodosopoulos with the goals for you on Saturday. Good play from your power play unit, good play from your penalty kill unit as well, number 1 penalty kill unit in the nation. You gave up 1 power play goal, but still, as you mentioned, a very high-powered Minnesota offense. Another good effort on the defensive side from your girls all weekend.
Oh, absolutely. When you have a power play like theirs, it's clicking at 25%, and for us to hold them 1 for 9, that speaks volumes. And honestly, over the last few years, that's been the difference in most games, is their power play has gotten 1 or 2, and we haven't been able to win that special teams battle. So for us to get a couple on the power play and the PK to be outstanding, that was definitely a recipe for success for us.
Yeah, Saturday afternoon, the same story as Friday with the 2-2 tie in regulation. They get the win in the shootout, but still, you want to have wins, obviously. But like we said, this team was 11-1 coming in, Minnesota was, to still get a couple of points off the team and get those results. Certainly something for this team to build off of moving forward.
Well, quite honestly, Alex, the thing I was most excited about was they were a little perturbed after the end of Saturday's game. They weren't happy. You think most times you'd be like, oh, well, we tied a nice team and they're good. They weren't like that at all. They were a little miffed that we let something slip away.
This weekend series against Minnesota, the 4th straight that you've played, with the bye mixed in there against the top teams in the nation, Wisconsin, Bemidji, who's ranked in the top 10 now, Duluth last weekend, and now Minnesota this weekend. How much do you think this team has grown over this really tough stretch over the last 5 weeks?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. And now the next few weeks we've got to prove that growth, and we've got to play at the same level regardless of who our opponents are. So, we feel like we're as good as any of those teams, and we've got some time here in the next couple months to prove that and to get up into that top 8 for the NCAAs, and that's our goal.
Another home doubleheader coming up this weekend, non-conference against Syracuse, and then the road starts to beckon once Christmas time comes around. Big chance this weekend, though, to get a little momentum before that big road swing hits.
Oh, absolutely. And Syracuse non-conference games big and have cost us the last couple of years when it comes to bids at the end of the year. So that's not lost on our older players. They know that this is a huge weekend. We got to take care of non-conference.
Yeah, Coach. Well, best of luck against the Orange coming up this weekend. Brian, thanks for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Alex.
Back in a moment here to wrap things up on UND Sports Extra.
UND Sports Extra on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance and the University of North Dakota.
Both UND Hoops teams were in action this past week, with Travis Brewster and the UND women hanging with Iowa, but ultimately falling 75-60. The Fighting Hawks were level with the Hawkeyes midway through the third quarter, but would shoot just 23% from the floor in the fourth, leading to their second close defeat to a Power 5 school this season. UND will look for their first win of the year against Mayville State tonight at 7 p.m. here in Grand Forks. On the men's side, Brian Jones's boys improved to 3-0 on the year with a 101-63 win on Sunday over Presentation College. The victory was headlined by a triple-double from Drick Bernstein, who put up 10 points, 10 boards, and 10 assists for the second triple-double in program history. UND will go on the road for the first time this year coming up this week, heading to Dayton, Ohio for 3 games against a trio of solid mid-major programs at the Wright State tournaments. Closer to home, we'll have live coverage of North Dakota hockey this Thanksgiving weekend on Midco Sports Network as the 5th-ranked UND men host Michigan State of the Big Ten in the Subway Holiday Classic on Friday at 7:30 and Saturday at 7 p.m. The Spartans are 3-6 on the season, but have won 3 of their last 5, while UND is coming off back-to-back shutout wins at St. Cloud State. We invite you to join us for both of those broadcasts this week, as well as next Tuesday for another edition of UND Sports Extra. Until then, I'm Alex Heinert. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for watching.